What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL and the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Appreciate you joining us today. You know the guests, Justis Mosqueda, JUMOSQ on social media, and of course, acmepackingcompany.com. Justis, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I bring you guys a gift.
Oh, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, there it is in all of its glory. It looks good.
Is this all on the right way? I think this is the first time or like second time I've worn it. But we got the mask back, folks.
It's awesome.
We got it back.
Well, how are we feeling about it?
I got patches all over it.
How you feeling about it?
I'm happy I got it back. That was cool. We don't have to go back to Mexico to get another one. Also, folks, I don't know if you guys have checked the news. It's not going great right now. Tex just got back from Mexico like last week. I don't even know what his title is at APC. I mean, he ran APC before I ran APC, and then they wanted a full timer, so they hired me. Yeah, things aren't going great in Mexico. Don't have to go back and get the mask. I got a mask. I'm very happy. Had to show it off for you guys. That's kind of it. I like this G.
Yeah, it's clean.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's really hard to hear from this though, so I think I'm going to take it off.
Yeah, go for it. Love it. Love it. Shout out Bears Mysterio again for being a cool dude.
I'm back.
Like, that's what fandom is supposed to be. So again, shout out to Bears Mysterio for that. That's awesome. Cool on him.
Yeah.
Props all the way around.
Yeah, shout out to Bears Mysterio for sending it back. Feel kind of bad that I said that. If the Packers would have won, I would have put it on the wall like a pelt. Definitely wouldn't have. Well, honestly, I used to work at upholstery, so I probably could have done some of this stuff, but it just never came to mind to me. So
it's very cool of him. And now we'll have to pay it forward if we lose a bet in the future or something. But yeah, good on him. And I like the new look. It's clean. I like the G on the side. Like it all the way around. All right, I want to start with an article today that you recently wrote. It's something I've discussed a decent amount as well, and it's about swinging big in free agency for the Packers. And so I'm a huge believer in kind of staying out of the middle class of free agency. They either go big or go small, meaning take a flyer on some of the cheap guys. Maybe you find Rick Wagner that works out really, really well. More often than not, it's going to be an Isaiah Simmons and McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, and Devin Funchess, but that's okay. You don't lose a ton by taking a flyer on some of those. And every once in a while, you get a Rick Wagner, somebody that actually works very well. And on the flip side is you go big, you swing big, and you try to get big-time players, Adrian Amos, Zadarius Smith, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. Jimmy Graham did not work. Aaron Banks so far has not worked quite as well. But I would probably put Nate Hobbs a little bit more in that middle tier of free agency. I think Aaron Banks probably should have been more in the middle tier of free agency.
Yeah, see, like that's the thing with that is like the Banks, it's probably a middle tier player who got paid like a top tier guy. Right?
Correct, which is what you want to stay away from.
Right. And then Hobbs, if you're looking at him as a cornerback, right?
Mid-tier.
He would have been a mid-tier guy.
Slot.
But they paid him and reset the slot market.
Yeah.
And the slot market used him as a data point, right? Like you can look at the guys like who was it? The guy that signed with the Bears and the Texans like immediately after the draft or right before the draft. It would have been April. It would have been after the free agency wave. They used him as the data point, as the bridge to get to, I think it was like 13 and a third per year. So like Hobbs would have been top of the market at the slot position. Now, obviously that blew up because Kyle Hamilton got, what is it, 25.1 a
year. Got a payday. Yep.
Yeah. And he's an interesting situation too, because he's like an all-pro guy. He's never leaving the field, even though he's primarily slot when they're in nickel. But yeah. So
he's a special dude. We utilize like Swiss Army knife way too much. It's one of those overused terms, but he's legitimately like they've done it in the past where it's like, oh, safety's not working. All right, Kyle Hamilton, go play safety. All right, we're struggling in the box. All right, Kyle Hamilton, play in the box. Oh, we're struggling in the slot. All right, Kyle Hamilton, go play in the slot. Derwin James is probably maybe Woodson to an extent, Charles Woodson. There's just not many guys that can kind of do that full array of skills, and he's definitely one of them.
Yeah, slot's getting tougher and tougher because teams like the Packers, right, do weird things with their slot receivers where you could motion down a Christian Watson into basically an inline tight end position, and now that slot defender has to play Sam, linebacker. But then if you're playing Justin Jefferson, he also has to play Justin Jefferson in the slot, right? So there's just not that many guys in the world who are going to be able to play Sam linebacker and fit the run and then also cover those guys in the slot. It's becoming more and more difficult. Defenses, easy buttons, right? We've talked about this a lot. I actually ran the numbers on this. Press corners, both of those guys pressed up, playing man coverage outside of the red zone. Because in the red zone, you're going to get a whole lot more because there's just nothing else that you can do spacing wise, right?
Yep.
The top team was like the Lions last year, and they did it like 80 times. So that's like 6 times a game.
It's dead.
And then the next team was like the Jets, and then I think Kansas City was the other one that was like over 50, right? Okay. So you're talking about it's like 4 snaps a game that you're getting it. So defense's easy buttons is all just, hey, don't target the corners, funnel everything to the middle of the field, right? And that's where having a really good slot like Kyle Hamilton makes a real big difference.
It does. He's a freak. He's one of a kind. And yeah, there's a reason they paid him that much money. But outside of like the freaky Kyle Hamilton types, to your point, Nate Hobbs was in that high tier slot category. And to your point as well, just not just the run fits and then going against Justin Jefferson. And maybe you were alluding to this as well with the Watson, but you can get Christian Watson in the slot. You can get Justin Jefferson. You can get Christian McCaffrey. You can get all of the best tight ends. You can get, Trey McBride, like literally just every body type, whether it's a 5'8" scat back or a 6'6" wide receiver, or the most physical tight end, or the best route running tight end, or the best route running wide receiver, or just literally anything you can imagine, they're going in the slot and you better be able to match up with it. Good luck. Good freaking luck.
You need a good football player there, right?
Seriously.
The problem is that guy also only plays part-time, right? I mean, it's like 60% of the snaps now. It used to be more. It used to be like 80% of the snaps. Now it's dropping down year over year. But it's a really important position.
It's going to evolve or devolve. Like next year, it might be 80 again, or
it can change. 50. It can change week to week. It all depends on what the offense throws out there. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Gotta love it. You need everything in the NFL, and you can't have everything. Good freaking luck.
48 guys on game day. Good luck.
Any other thoughts just on swinging big in free agency and how kind of Green Bay goes about it?
Yeah. So they have the second highest APY among guys who signed $2 million deals or more since 2020. So they're the only team that swings bigger than them historically has been the Rams. And they've also signed the fewest free agents over that period. They've only signed 9 guys. So I have the chart up at APC where it kind of plots this data, but it's really inverted, right? There's teams that sign a lot of free agents to low salary contracts. The Houston Texans are like the biggest example of this. They had 33 guys, according to Over the Cap's data, who signed 1-year contracts worth at least $2 million per year. The next team is at 21, right? So they're doing 50% higher than everyone else in the league in terms of 1-year deals. By the way, that's how we got Nick Neiman, because they signed him to a 1-year deal, and then they ended up waiving him at the cut-down deadline.
Yep.
They paid him more than we paid him this year. And then you have the other side, which is the Packers, which is, hey, we're not swinging a lot, but when we swing big. The only exception is the Dallas Cowboys, who somehow are both not signing outside free agents and not paying them very much. I guess they're just paying their guys a ton of money, other than Micah Parsons. So
the Dallas Cowboys becoming a legitimate like draft and develop team sort of out of nowhere and not spending big money in free agency is one of those things I never would have seen coming specifically. And Jerry Jones is just so weird. And yeah, you never know what's going to happen with him. And then you would think Justis Mosqueda, if you were going to be a draft and develop team and not sign free agents elsewhere, maybe you keep a Micah Parsons when you draft said player, but they didn't do that either. They're a weird freaking team.
I mean, they do weird things. They're involved in the trade market, right? They got Pickens, they got Kenny Clark, they got Quinnen Williams. They traded for the linebacker from Cincinnati. I'm spacing on his name. They released him. Yeah, they just released him.
Yep. They're probably going to release Kenny too. So there's two players they traded draft picks for, and Logan Wilson and Kenny Clark. Well, I guess they didn't trade a draft pick for Kenny.
Did you see? I think it was Steven. Maybe it was Jerry. And was like, yeah, we're going to need more bang from our buck, basically, from the Quinn Williams and Kenny Clark deals, and was basically talking like
they're going to be.
Seemed like he was talking restructure, and I'm like, first of all, Quinn is not touching that contract.
Nope.
At all. Like you can max convert that thing if you want to. Kenny, I don't like. He's got no guarantees in that deal, so like you're just gonna have to like rip it up and give him a new contract, or you should just let him test the market because you're not keeping him at the 20 million or whatever his salary is this year.
They shouldn't. Dallas being Dallas, you never freaking know, but yeah, they shouldn't. Plus, they just signed Osa Digizua to a huge contract. Like, so,
and they said they're going to a 3. Are they going to the 3-4?
Yes, 3-4. Yep, you're correct. You're correct. Yep.
So that should help a little bit. By the way, that's another quarters guy, right? He's coming from Philadelphia. That's another quarters guy who is going to be running a 3-4. I know we don't have the Gannon press conference lined up at all yet, but I'm still assuming that we're going to run a 3-4. We're going to be run first up front, and we're going to play quarters on the back end. Our corners are going to have to run.
The good news on that side of things, because that immediately gave me some concern because the Cowboys were worse than the Packers. The Cowboys do not have second or third round picks. So if you're worried that maybe them in a 3-4 cover 4 style defense are going to maybe poach a player that Green Bay would have liked a few picks before, maybe in round 4, but they do not have second or third round picks. So good news there.
Yeah, that should help us out a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I'm interested to see if Green Bay follows that same overall strategy this offseason, if they do sign a free agent. And just kind of with that in mind, you also did a great article. Again, check this out over on acmepackingcompany.com. You looked at the top 100 free agents and you have your full board available, but you looked at it getting rid of the olds because Green Bay doesn't like the olds. So I think you did 28 and under. There's a chance you maybe even could have done 27 or under knowing Green Bay. But I kind of wanted to go through this and just sort of figure out where Green Bay might have interest. So let's eliminate anybody over the age of 28 like you did in the article. Cool. And then we'll kind of go position by position. We'll start at quarterback. Malik Willis is the only one. They're not going to re-sign him, so we're good there. If they're going to get a backup, it's probably going to be via trade, draft pick, or I guess maybe they go in old. But there's not a top 100 quarterback. Not that they would have been probably interested in a top 100 quarterback anyway, but none there. Running back's interesting only if they would somehow move on from Josh Jacobs, which I don't see happening. But in that case, you've got a ton. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, although Hall might get franchised or transition tagged. We'll see. Kenneth Walker, ETN, Dowdle, Rashad White, Algier from Atlanta, Kenneth Gainwell, and J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and Javonte already re-signed with
Good point.
Dallas. Yep. That already happened. So I didn't include him in the rankings if you're wondering where he's at. I think ETN is going to end up in Kansas City. Walker is going to get paid a ton. Breece is going to get paid a ton. If you're getting rid of Jacobs, you almost have to swing at like a Hall or a Walker. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, K9 fits what they need in terms of like running style and things like that. Seattle was a mashing team too. His issue is just like he can't really pass protect or
well, Jacobs can't either, so you were fine there.
Well, he can't pass protect or contribute in the receiving game very much, which, I mean, Matt's worked around it before when he had Derrick Henry in Tennessee. So, I mean, it wouldn't be the biggest deal, but
although
I don't think we're moving off of Jacobs.
Did prioritize the smaller back. I can't remember his name now in Tennessee. Deion Lewis, a little bit more than he probably should have that year, if I remember correctly.
That was before him.
Oh, was that before him?
Yes. So before him, it was the Deion Lewis show because Derrick Henry wasn't a full-time starter until Matt got there.
Got it. Okay.
I think is becoming a more interesting data point the further we go into this, right? Where we look at Matt's career arc and we're like, oh, he was a McVay guy. And then we just like overlook the Tennessee year. And then he gets to Green Bay and it's like, oh, he has Aaron Jones. He's running outside zone. He's doing the McVay things. And then we're going back to the Tennessee thing. Like we want to look like the Tennessee team. Where it's
they drafted AJ Dillon for a reason. They drafted
all these guys. Yeah, he's what he was damn near 250, right? Jacobs is 220, Lloyd is 220, Brooks is 220. You could look at the practice squad guys. The practice squad guys are big too. Emmanuel Wilson is 220. Like, I know people are like, hey man, what the Packers really need is like this change up back, like this smaller guy who's like out of the backfield catching passes, all this stuff. I don't think we want to do that at all. I don't think we have any ambition to Banks is just signed a 4-year deal. Belton just signed a 4-year deal. I don't think we have any ambition to run the outside zone behind those two guards. So
No.
we'll see in 2030. But until then, I think we're going to be an inside run team, folks.
I think you're probably right. Receiver, we can basically skip over. Again, that's not going to be a priority, but Pickens, Pierce, Rashid Shaheed, Romeo Dobbs, Wan'Dale Robinson, all young enough, but again, not in the market. Tight end, I'd be pretty surprised. Kyle Pitts, Isaiah Likely, Chigakonkwo, Kate Otten, again, not in the market.
And Pitts is probably going to get franchise tag.
Correct. That was the report.
Same thing with Pickens. Pierce, if Pierce might get franchise tagged, depending on what happens with Daniel Jones. So
that's going to be interesting. Well, as we've talked about, that's one. And I think you wrote an article on that too. Green Bay should probably get the Watson deal done before Pierce signs and probably Pickens too. It's probably only going to get worse once those two sign.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure all that stuff.
I'm sure Watson's agents thinking the exact same thing and saying, we have no interest in doing this until those two sign, because things are only going to get better from there. Offensive tackle, only 2, which is why Rasheed Walker is probably going to get paid a stupid amount of money. Rasheed Walker, Braxton Jones, unless they resign Walker, which I'd be stunned by.
Yeah, Braxton got benched, right? So, like, if you're looking young starting tackle in the NFL, folks, it's Rasheed. That's it. That's the only guy on the market, and that's why he's going to get paid a ton.
Yep. Guard is interesting. They have Belton at right guard. I would personally like some competition, but I don't think they're going to spend big money to do it. And then, of course, unless you're moving on from Aaron Banks, I can't imagine that you're going to add another one here. But Elijah Vera Tucker, Ed Ingram, Dylan Parham, and Zion Johnson. Any interest in those names if Green Bay had interest?
So Vera Tucker, the issue has never been about ability.
Health.
Right? It's always injuries with Vera Tucker. And that's going to be the sticking point there. If we move off of Banks, I think he probably makes the most sense out of this group. Zion Johnson and Parham have kind of had up and down careers so far in the NFL. I know Zion was, a big draft pick and all that stuff. Ed Ingram is a guy who had a breakout year in Houston. The Packers actually brought him in on a pre-draft visit. The Packers bring in a lot of off-field and injury concern guys that they have no intention to draft. Ingram had, I believe, 2 sexual assault allegations that ended up leading to him being suspended at LSU and then reinstated later after the charges were dismissed, not dropped. I don't think the Packers are going to be in the Ed Ingram market.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And this is why I have talked about, if there is somebody on offense, because we've gone over all the other positions so far, the 2 remaining players are Tyler Linderbaum and Cade Mays. And I think Linderbaum is in all likelihood, although we do see Green Bay swing big, I think he's going to be out of their price range. Everyone seems to be in on him. And Cade Mays is the one that I have circled as the remaining names on this list that if you're looking for people who fit kind of what the Packers look for in free agency, if you told me there was an offensive player on this list that they signed, I would probably circle Cade Mays pretty aggressively.
Yeah, just because folks, I know people are just pointing at Linderbaum and being like, oh, that just solves our problem. Guess what? There's 31 other teams that are also doing that, including the Ravens.
Yep.
The center market is super weird. I hadn't checked in on it until very recently. I started looking at the numbers. It's crazy. You can get a starting center, like you can get a starting center. In the past, you've been able to get a starting center at like $8 million per year. Andy, we just came off this conversation where I was telling you average slot defenders are getting like 13 per. And those are part-time guys. Centers are full-time starters. This market is going to blow up. I don't know if it happens this offseason. It's definitely going to blow up on the high end in terms of the non-Pro Bowl starters. I don't know if it's going to blow up this offseason because the other guys are like McGovern and Posick, the Browns guy.
Yep.
They're both on the older end. I think Posick is like 31. McGovern is like, this is going to be his 29 year, I think.
Yep.
So he's like just a little too old, which if we want to make an exemption for this 28-year-old rule, I think
the other one that I've discussed a decent amount, because again, if Linderbaum's gone, Mays or McGovern make the most sense.
Right. And if you're not going that route, you should just bring back Sean Ryan. Because the other stress point is not only is there not a lot of centers on the market, there's not a lot of center prospects in this draft class who are like ready to start in the NFL right now. So I'm looking at the consensus board currently. At 66, we have Connor Lew from Auburn. He has a torn ACL. 81, Jake Slaughter from Florida. 90, Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech, who is a guard. He's going to have to convert to the center position at the next level. Sam Hetch from Kansas State, who's a little undersized. Logan Jones, another guy who's a little bit undersized, like sawed-off guy at 106. Parker Brailsford, who's like, he might weigh in at like 280, unless he's put on a ton of weight.
Not their type.
The season. Yeah, from Alabama. And then that's it in the top 150. You could probably throw in Brian Parker, the kid from Duke. He's ranked 88th on the consensus board right now. And then where is Trey Zune? Zune is 162. He was a tackle for A&M. Tiny arm, same issue as Parker. Those guys are both center only, probably at the next level. So yeah, I mean, what are we dealing with? A bunch of converts, unless you think the Florida kid is going to be a for sure starter day one, or you think Lou's ACL is going to be ready, and he's probably going to have to miss some camp.
You still have to draft them too. Like they still have to be available for you to pick, and like best player available and things like that, which is
so things are right for a jump in the center market this year, because it's already the position is lagged behind the other positions in terms of growth. You have a small amount of guys in free agency, and you have not a lot of day one options in the draft either. So I think teams are going to have to pay. Now, with that being said, it doesn't seem like the NFL is, at least based off of the rankings that we've that I've tabulated, I'm up to 22 boards for the consensus free agency rankings. Ryan is like on the 200th free agent available bubble. I know
that seems crazy.
Who was it? Bill Barnwell just wrote the article where he tiered off like every offensive free agent, by position, and then also included potential cap casualties and stuff like that. One interesting thing, he had Elton Jenkins, and it was the third tier of centers, but there was no qualifiers in the second tier, right? So it was like Linderbaum, and then after that, it was like McGovern and Elton Jenkins post cap casualty, which I have no idea what the Elton Jenkins market is going to look like. We're going to move off of him. I'm not worried about that. He's got a fractured leg, so I don't know if teams are going to want to sign him before the leg thing is kind of figured out or what.
Right. Also, I would expect it to be at a guard, and I would expect some team to be like, we're going to put him back at guard and think that that's what's going to fix him, even though I don't think it will.
Yeah. Again, I don't think so. I think he started falling off in 24, but
yeah.
I mean, he had Ryan, I think it's like a 5th tier center who would make between like $1.5 and $3 million per year, which like, if you're doing that, sign me up.
Please just do that now.
Contract. Yeah.
5 is fine. 1 year. If you want to do 1 year, $5 million, I'd be totally fine with that. No,
my line is like 8. If it's anything less than like 8, I'm cool with bringing him back. Like, especially
if you can do it for a 1 year, and if you want to nuke that thing for like a 5-year void years, and $3 million against the cap this year or something, go for it. That's fine.
Yeah, because then you have the availability in the draft to grab a guy like Rutledge, the Georgia Tech kid, who fits your scheme really well. He's a big guy. He's probably going to be, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's probably the biggest center of the potential available centers. And he's a road grader. All Georgia Tech wanted to do was run the football, and specifically behind him this past year. And he has the potential to play both guard and center. So you can kind of, you give Sean Ryan that $5 million 1-year contract, or even if it's over 2, and you're going to be able to, if you give him a 2-year contract, that second year is not guaranteed, right? It's going to be functionally, it's going to be a team option. You're going to be in a spot where Rutledge could take over potentially either left guard or center in 27 as a starter. And that's a pretty good spot. So if you want to take him in the 3rd, that makes a lot of sense too.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there any world where Jacob Monk is your starter? Oh, not injury related, like that they legitimately go into the season and say Jacob Monk is our starting center?
I think they would have to get priced out of the center market in free agency, including Sean Ryan. They would have to miss these guys in the draft. And then you're probably looking at him and John Williams battling in camp. That's the way I could see it. And even then, like, I haven't seen a lot of John. I'm saying his name right? It is John Williams, the kid from Cincinnati. We didn't get a look at him in the preseason last year, but sight unseen.
Look at anything, not mini camp, not OTAs, not training camp, not nothing.
Yeah. I'm giving you a swinging chance against Monk.
Yeah.
But hopefully they find a set. I mean, there's depth in this offensive line class. The problem is there's a lot of like 2027 starters, probably not 2026 guys, which is what the Packers need right now.
Can you imagine if they moved Aaron Banks to center and he was a 22 million or whatever, 20 million per year center or whatever? Be the highest paid center in football.
Yeah, I mean that's the craziest thing, right? Like, I know people are like, well, the center market isn't that high. Linderbaum can't be getting that much money. Dude, it's not going to be about that. It's going to be Linderbaum being like, a slot defender just got 25, right? Dan Moore Jr., who led the NFL in sacks allowed at tackle last season, got 20 and a half or whatever. Banks got his money, right? Like Linderbaum, it's not going to be within the center market. It's going to be like the narrative that the agents are going to be spinning is the center market hasn't kept up with the growth at other positions, and it's time to reset it.
And I just think the other thing too is he's going to be one of the legitimately best players available in a weak free agent class, and a bunch of teams have a ton of money to spend, and so and everyone wants offensive linemen. I think his is going to skyrocket past any normal center expectations.
Him and Walker are the only top 20 free agents on the consensus board. He is ranked third, only behind George Pickens, who's going to get tagged at minimum, and then Trey Hendrickson, who's coming off of injury, and he's like 31 years old. So he is the top young player in free agency.
You're forgetting Malik Willis, my friend.
He's 17th. They got him behind Andrew Jones. A lot of people.
I know. I'm just saying the NFL came out with their list today, and
I know
Malik Willis was number one on that list.
Number one. That is an outlier. If you look at these boards, Daniel Jones is higher than Malik Willis on most people's. Like,
who would you rather start your franchise around?
Malik, because he doesn't have a busted leg. The Daniel Jones thing is so funny, dude. The apparatus that his Duke teammates made him when he messed up his knee and then he got hurt again, like big my uncle made me a helmet energy. Like, how did the NFL allow him to wear that on the field? We're letting you wear equipment that your buddies have made. This is a slippery slope.
It is. Next is a cup. My friends made me a new cup that I'm wearing at during games.
Again, my uncle made me a helmet. Like, no.
It's amazing. Obviously did not work. The only team that I would accept the answer of Daniel Jones for is the Colts, because it seemed to be working for them pre-injury in a pretty small sample size. I could see them being like, he's a higher advantageous bring back than bringing somebody new in. Every other team, I would say, start with Malik.
Yep, 100%. And I mean, we're getting all these connections with Malik and people being like, oh, Miami, Arizona. We've heard none of this buzz about Jones anywhere else. I think everyone just assumes Jones is going back to Indy.
Which is, which I do as well. You never know. There's crazy things that happen. Maybe we get some buzz this week in the combine or something. But
New York Jet Daniel Jones is like monkey paw curling, right? It's like we all know how this one ends.
It'd be beautiful. Just get Daniel Jones back in New York. That's what we need. All right, let's go on the defensive side of the ball. No interior defenders, which is noteworthy in and of itself for a team that could use an interior defender. All right, friends, we are inching closer and closer to March Madness, and there is no better time for frozen pizza than March Madness. And that's where the Luigi's Gourmet Pizza Parlor pepperoni pizza comes in. This is a absolutely delicious pizza. It's got their Parmesan and Romano blend, Wisconsin mozzarella, perfectly seasoned pepperoni, a toasty, savory, crispy, and delicious crust. It's a pizza parlor worthy experience that bakes at 450 degrees in just 10 to 13 minutes. Now, I love that the Gourmet Pizza Parlor pizzas are budget friendly and they're quick bake. So pick up as many as you can for March Madness and you'll be thanking me later. Check them out over at luigispizza.com and on social media at Luigi's Pizza. Get your Gourmet Pizza Parlor pepperoni pizzas all set for March Madness. Hey friends, before we move forward today, just a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring us here on the Pack a Day podcast. They've been wonderful to partner with. And guess what? They just launched Team Picks over on the Sleeper app. These are really, really fun to play and they're super simple. You just choose a team to win by selecting yes or no. And it's not just Team Picks. There's some other really fun options. A couple that caught my eye. Green Bay a 6% chance to win the championship next year. Interesting. Fernando Mendoza, a 93% chance to go number 1 overall. Also interesting. And there's a ton of other really fun options out there. You can make these picks right now over on the Sleeper app. And again, it's not just those options. There's a ton of options out there. I'd like to know from you guys in the comments. Do you think Green Bay should be better than a 6% chance to win the championship? Do you think there's better than a 93% chance that Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 overall? Again, these just launched on the Sleeper app, brand new. And again, I want to give a huge shout out to Sleeper for partnering with us, not only on today's show, but all season long. You can check them out over on the Sleeper app.
Yeah, there's a lot of nose tackles who are going to be available both in free agency and the draft. In free agency, they're all old. If they are young, they're mostly rotational guys. They're guys that we've talked about, right? Like Roy Lopez and Tonga from New England. Both of those guys have experience playing under Gannon. But yeah, there's not young defensive tackles hitting the market. Surprise, surprise, if you've been keeping up with this market for the past 2.5 years. People are overdrafting defensive tackles. No one's letting them hit free agency. If you want a 1-year stopgap, those are the guys who are kind of moving around the league.
Edge has a bunch. Again, I don't know what Green Bay's appetite is going to be for an edge behind LVN and Micah Parsons, assuming they move off of Rashawn Gary and don't re-sign Kingsley Enagbare. You've got Jalen Phillips, Odafe Owe, Boye Mafe, Kayla Von Chason. It's a very difficult pronunciation guide for the defensive ends in this class. Kwity Paye, Arnold Ebiketie, Malcolm Kuntz, and Joseph Asai. That's your list of defensive ends. Any pique your interest if they wanted to go in this direction?
Not in this tier, but I do think that it is relevant in the context of Kingsley and Enagbare, right? Yeah. Where there's a lot of guys who are like Kingsley, like Ebiketie, Osai are very similar to what Kingsley brings to the table. There's also guys who just missed this list. So like Al-Qadim Muhammad, Kingsley is another one of them, where they're like, if you drop this list like another 25 guys, there's even more edge defenders who are added there. It's pretty good to, if you want like an edge 2 or like a veteran depth guy in the edge market, even if those guys are young, like those guys are available this offseason. Whether the Packers go down that route, I don't know, because I think they want LVN and Micah to be the starters moving forward, and they just drafted 2 guys in the mid-rounds too. I would think that they would either re-sign Enagbare to like a 1-year deal, where it's just basically like, hey, maybe you test the market when it's a better time to time the market in 2027. Because there's also a bunch of edge rushers in this class, which is probably why these edge 2s are being allowed to hit the open market, right? Or they go down like some weird route where like they like Dante Fowler last year. He's an older guy. They almost got that deal. I mean, there's a real world where like maybe they sign Dante Fowler and they don't pull the trigger on the Micah Parsons trade, as dumb as that sounds.
I did a
maybe they go that route.
Do you think they let's say they don't trade for Micah? Let's say they lose the Cowboys game.
The playoffs.
Well, hold on. Well, let's say they lose the Cowboys game. They get to the trade deadline, and they're the team that trades the 3rd round pick for Jalen Phillips.
Maybe. Yeah.
And what's interesting about it is, well, obviously you still have 2 first round picks and money to spend. But what's interesting is obviously at the end of the year, you don't have Micah because he tore his ACL. And in this scenario, you not only have Kenny Clark, but you also now have Jalen Phillips. You're only out a 3rd round pick. It's just an interesting, like, what if scenario. I don't think it would have happened, but it's an interesting what if.
Yeah. And we get Kenny too.
Yeah. So you get Kenny back, and you get. So imagine end of the year, you've got, instead of having no, Micah anyway because he tore his ACL, you actually have Kenny Clark and Jalen Phillips in that scenario. I wouldn't trade the scenarios. I would rather.
I'm still sending the picks for Micah. I'm still doing
1,000,000%. Sorry, I interrupted you though. Any other thoughts on defensive end?
No, I there's a lot of options. I wouldn't be surprised if we collect someone who didn't get what market rate should be. But beyond that, and who that name is, I'm unable to tell you guys.
Well, the interesting thing is if Enagbare is gone and if Rashawn Gary's gone like we expect, then you have Micah who's out for the first, maybe 3, 4, 5 games of the season, whatever it ends up being. And when he's back, he's on a snap count in all likelihood. I don't think he's just going to come in and play. He's a freak, so I'm not going to put anything past him. But
I mean, how long did it take for Christian to ramp up? Like, it was like game 2, game 3, maybe?
You might be right. Is there a difference between a 200-pound guy and a 260-pound guy, though? I don't know. Maybe there's not anymore. But either way, I do think it's interesting do you want a little bit of a higher tier player that can start opposite LVN to start the season and then have a legitimate good backup after LVN and Micah, but before Sorrell and Colin Oliver?
I can see it going either way. I genuinely could see it going either way. Because, maybe they're just like, dude, we need these young guys to get reps. We just drafted them in the 3rd and 4th rounds, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
4th and 5th rounds, whatever it was.
The classic, they got to get playing time in order to get better sort of routine, I guess. That could be the case. Yeah. I like both of them. So I wouldn't hate it.
I think the crunch comes too is like once you sign a veteran, right? If they're past their rookie deal, their salary is fully guaranteed starting week 1. So if you're not planning on carrying those guys and making the room for 5 of those guys being on your 53-man roster and your 48-man game day roster, you're probably better off going the late route in the draft and then having that guy come up for a couple weeks, and then maybe you can put him on the practice squad in like week 5 or whatever it is.
Good point. It's a fair point.
It'll be interesting.
Quickly on off-ball linebacker, Devin Lloyd, Devin Bush, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Leo Chanel. If Walker's gone, it's an interesting situation. Could go with McDuffie and Hopper, obviously, but Chanel, Dean, Lloyd, fun options.
Dude, linebacker is such a weird market, man. Because we spend all this time talking about like the different types of cornerbacks, right? Like which ones fit our system. Defensive tackles, we're like trying to specify like which guys are nose tackles. Linebacker is that position too. And Cooper is a will. Cooper is a will for us. He's going to be a will for us whether we run a 4-3 or a 3-4.
Correct.
I think he's sub 230. I think all our
linebackers wasn't there a big thing of he put on weight last year in like the training camp? That was the big story. You put on a bunch of weight. I think it was.
He's still a smaller guy at linebacker. There's available linebackers in this class. It's a lot of wills. So like Dean is a will, Bush is a will, Quincy Williams is a will, who you don't really want to pair that guy with Edger and Cooper, right? You need a mic. You need basically a plugger. And there's pluggers in this class, like Chanel, who basically played like 4-3 Sam for Kansas City. He was like a blitzer, line of scrimmage guy. You don't want him dropping back into coverage. Demario Davis and his legs at this point. Caden Ellis is another guy who's, one of those downhill plugger guys. But those guys aren't going to help you in coverage very much. And coverage is going to matter a lot in this system. So it'll be interesting to see, because I do think like Mike is a need. I don't want Isaiah McDuffie starting at Mike for this team for 17 games. But the way that they pivot out of Walker is going to be interesting, because if you're looking at young guys, or not even like young guys, just like guys who can play Mike and are athletic, it's like Devin Lloyd and Quay Walker. And that's probably going to be one reason why Quay's market is going to get driven up, because the teams that are in on Dean and Bush and stuff like that are going to be different than the teams that are in on Walker, I think.
Lloyd's more of a Mike, right? Or does he play a little bit?
Oh, yeah. He's going to get $20 million per year. Yeah. If you want to do that, go for it. By the way, birdies have told me that Jacksonville camp has his eyes on Quay. Jacksonville thinks all their free agents who are slated to hit free agency are going to hit free agency at this point too. So This goes for your Monteric Brown, Greg Newsome, all those guys. They think that they're all hitting the market. ETN.
Interesting. Sign me up for Monteric Brown. As we know, with safeties, we don't need to go over. I'll just list the names because they're not going to sign a safety. Brian Cook, Kobe Bryant, Cameron Curl, Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Thompson, Reed Blankenship, and Nick Cross. And that leaves us with corner, which is a decent amount. We've talked about corner quite a bit, so we probably don't need to dig into it a ton. But Jalen Watson, Reek Woolen, Nashawn Wright, Alante Taylor, Monteric Brown, Eric Stokes, and Cordell Flott. Flott we haven't talked about a ton. I'm not a huge Flott guy, but he does kind of fit.
He's like 170 pounds, dude. There's no way we're going to do it. There's no way. I looked into Monteric Brown a little bit. I worry about his speed, man. I really do in this scheme specifically. Like I think he's a zone corner. I think a guy like Halfley would like him. If we still had Halfley, maybe you can squint enough and talk yourself into it. I really do worry about the fit here. By the way, I ran the numbers on Gannon's cornerbacks, who, by the way, like
I had this on my question for you. You're beating me to it. Go for it.
they didn't spend a whole ton of assets on corner because they were. If people don't remember, the first 2 years in Arizona, I mean, truly like ground up rebuild. Like they did not have a lot of assets. Like everything was built into year 3, and then year 3, I think the Cardinals led the NFL in terms of money that ended up on IR for like the weeks that they were on IR and all that stuff too. In Arizona, none of his guys were even 4-5 guys. Everyone was a 4-4 guy. And, you could look at the average corner, or you could do it by weighted snaps or anything. Basically, the average corner for Gannon was a 4-4-2 guy, right? You got to be able to run in this, because what's going to happen is after about 5 yards, you're playing man coverage at the cornerback position, because you're going to be playing off matching, quote unquote, zone, but it's really a match coverage more than anything else. You're sorting out the routes, and then it's click and close. And you're not getting any reroutes. So those guys are able to build up speed immediately on the outside. You have to have fast guys. I think that is going to hurt Brown. Flott, I don't think he makes sense because of his size. And then outside of that, I think the other guys are on paper scheme fits. If you want to look into them individually, it becomes a little bit more interesting. Where like Eric Stokes, are we going to make the call and bring him back? I don't know. Alontae Taylor spent a whole lot more time in the slot than he did outside, and he was a lot better in the slot than he was outside. If we sign Taylor, I'm fully convinced that this team thinks they can just convert slot defenders into outside corners. I think that's a dumb plan to just live in that market. Nahshon Wright, Andy, this guy was on the street in April. This guy signed a reserve futures deal with the Vikings. Got cut right before the draft because they were like, hey, we need room for undrafted free agents. And then he signs with the Bears, has a Pro Bowl year. But if you look into his metrics, he's allowing yards. He's just getting interceptions. So he's ranked 29th, right, on the overall consensus board for free agents. If you're looking at young corners, he's third in the pecking order. But all of that is basically based off of 1 year of ball skill production, right? That's a scary thing.
I'll say this, as when Green Bay went up against Chicago, I was looking forward to having Nahshon Wright on the opposite side. Yes, he's got ball skills, but they had no issues going at him, and I would say
it's a big bet, right? I'm not saying that it's not going to work out, but it's a big bet, and pretty much all you care about is the 2025 film and nothing else, in his past. So like really like the two guys I feel really good about in this cornerbacks class, it's Jalen Watson and Tariq Woolen. It's the two top guys. They're top 20 free agents. I think if you swing big. Maybe there's guys further down the line that interest me a little bit. Like Newsome makes the top 100 now since I've updated this list. He's at 96. I don't think Jacksonville likes him very much. I also didn't know Newsome was basically a slot his last 2 years in Cleveland before moving to Jacksonville, and they had him play outside. He gave up a ton of yards, man.
He was bad. He's been bad his last couple of years in Cleveland, and then Jacksonville traded for him. And I was actually kind of excited because I'm like, you know what? Maybe a change of scenery.
Right? That's what,
Cleveland will help, and it did not at all. And it kind of immediately fell out of favor there. So yeah, I loved him coming out. Was really high on him. Thought he was going to be good. Was excited to watch him play. I've been kind of tracking his career. It did not go according to plan.
The one guy lower on this list who kind of checks all the boxes is Josh Jobe, who's coming from Seattle
Seahawks.
And he's played in a similar system. It took him until year 4 to really get it figured out. Now he got to play with a bunch of very talented people around him, but those were for the most part the same people that he played with in 24, and he wasn't having the same type of production he had in 24 that he had in 25. Yeah. He's a younger guy. He can run. He has the size that the Packers look for because, again, they're going to want guys in the at minimum 190 range, at minimum 5'10", probably closer to 6 foot, right? Yeah. He kind of checks all the boxes. So like if I were to tier it and you told me, hey, man, priority, you're looking at these cornerbacks, they have to fit the system. What guys would you like Green Bay to take a swing on? My first two swings are Watson and Woolen, which like those are going to be everyone's first swings at the cornerback position, unless you're a Jamel Dean guy, big Jamel Dean guy. And then my next one would probably be Job, just because I'm like, I don't think he's going to get paid the same way some of these other guys are going to get paid, but he checks all the boxes, and you can have his contract in 27 and all this stuff. So
I think if it gets to Job, I would just say we're attacking it in the draft, or we're keeping what we have, and we're going to try to make
that's fine too. I mean, I think some of this stuff is interdependent though too, because it's like attacking in the draft sounds great, unless you don't come away with a nose tackle or a linebacker or a Mike linebacker or a center in free agency, and then it's, hey, we're going to attack this in the draft, and we're like, all four of them. So we're attacking it. We're for sure going to solve this in the 5th round. One of these.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. Well, that transitions us because we have 4 more corners to look at. We can look at these a little bit more lightning round today since we're 45 minutes in. And since we went through our 4, I just want to say, Justis, I don't know if this was just by happenstance or just because you're a very smart individual. This is another group of corners that I very much liked and enjoyed watching. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on these as well. Let's start with Damani Jackson, 6'1", 196, corner out of Alabama, will turn 23 in November of this year, 73.4 PFF grade. Only had targeted 21 times, but allowed 16 completions, 76.2% completion percentage, but for only 135 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, 1 pass breakup, 108.2 rating, 4 penalties.
Yeah, so Damani came into the year as a projected top 50 guy. He is, last time I checked on the consensus board, he is outside of the top 150. When I have asked around about Damani Jackson to NFL people, for the most, there's a couple who like him. For the most part, what I get is, oh, you're one of those guys. So there's a in-group and an out-group in terms of the people who like Damani Jackson. I think he's a very good scheme fit for us. He was basically running that quarter system already at Alabama. He can run like the wind, dude. He is the state champion and record holder for the 100-meter dash in the state of California.
Love it.
That he's very fast. The issue he dealt with this year was a rib injury. He kept playing, but it wasn't good until, so basically he started the year playing pretty well, had the rib injury, continued to play, but like in a rotational role, which is important in the context of Alabama, modern NIL, and the guys that he had behind him. Andy, you can't just pay these guys and tell them to shut up and not transfer. You actually have to play those guys. So like Bama has 5-star cornerbacks behind Damani, and Damani wasn't performing because he was still dealing with this injury and playing through it. And they were like, yeah, we got to get him on the field. Now, what Alabama did was, as soon as they started getting into elimination games, flipped right back. And they were like, Damani is going to be playing 80% of our snaps at outside corner. So you can watch him. SEC championship game. They played 2 college football playoff games because they played Oklahoma the first round and then they played Indiana. He was all over the field in that. Ended up going in the Shrine Bowl. He was like the number 1 guy at the Shrine Bowl at the cornerback position. Probably the only potential top 150 guy there at corner specifically. Eric Galco, do not get mad at me. Both the media and the scouts that I've talked to who are down at the Shrine Bowl both told me he did not have a great week. That is one reason why he's slipping down some of these boards. People were worried about his athleticism down there, which, again, I wasn't down there. I wasn't down in Frisco this year. I wasn't able to see it. When I look at his film at Alabama, I thought he was limited athletically for sure when he was dealing with the rib injury, but those final 3 games of the Bama season, I thought he played pretty well. I think the combine is going to be huge for this dude. So good for us on timing this right before these guys start running this week. Yep. If he doesn't run a 4.4, I think it's like going to tank, because that's his calling card. It's that he can fly. And if he can't fly anymore, we're talking about a totally different player. And that's why I think scouts are a little hesitant right now.
I liked overall his physicality, willing to come up and make a hit. No panic, can play in multiple schemes. I felt like an Alabama corner, played that style of football. Thought his instincts, angles, work on double moves, things like that weren't quite up to snuff.
His run angles, that's his worst trait. Like, and it's not like you're working pursuit drill in high school, right? You have reps at this. So that is the one thing that I'm like, if something spills quickly to the outside, I don't know if you're going to take the right angle for this. And that's definitely a concern. Now, can that be coached? For sure. He also played at Mater Dei, which is a huge football factory in Southern California. Played at USC and then played at Alabama.
It's as good as it gets.
I'm sure pursuit angles were stressed at some point, especially during when you don't have pads on and stuff like that, and it's basically conditioning with a helmet on. That's a lot of what you're doing is pursuit angles and stuff. So I hope that it gets better. Will I put my name that it will get better? No.
I'm gonna bank on it.
No.
Yeah. Let's go to Julian Neal. Next one, 6'2", 208, Arkansas, previously played at Fresno State, just turned 23 years old in February, 79.5 PFF grade, targeted 48 times, 27 completions, 56.3%, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 8 pass breakups, 4 penalties, and an 82.5 rating. Thoughts on Neal?
This is a very easy one. Former receiver, former basketball player, long guy, big guy, 6'2", 202. Guess what? The former receiver and basketball guy has some ball skills, Andy. You're going to be shocked by this one.
Go figure.
I think spot drop zone teams are going to like him a whole lot more than the Packers will, just because I don't know if he can run that well. There's some people who think he's a 4-4 guy. Most people think he's a 4-5 guy. And probably
4-4, it's gonna be like a 4-4-9.
Yeah. I think he's going to be like mid to low 4-5s. Honestly.
4-5-5 seems about right.
Yeah, something like that or worse. I get it. I bet he goes. Yeah, I mean, he's for sure going to go top 150. You'd have to work around him, which you can in the calls that Gannon is going to be able to make. Where, hey man, maybe we don't play stubby and we play stump. And if that guy is running a drag route from 1, we don't want our outside corner covering that guy. We just want him zoning off, and you drop back and you protect the sideline, right? That's one of the benefits of this quarter system. But he definitely needs to be worked around in this scheme. So I gave him a 3rd, 4th. I gave Damani a 3rd, which is probably going to be way higher than he gets drafted. If he runs slow this week, I apologize. Don't hold it against me. I will be changing that grade. But that's where I have him right now.
For Neal, love the size, and I thought he had pretty darn good movement skills for his size overall. Long arms. I like the upside. Good ball skills, as you mentioned. A little bit tight in the hips. Not the most smooth, silky corner in the world, but gets the job done, and overall liked what I saw on tape.
Yep.
All right. Dalen Everett's next. 6'1", 190, corner out of Georgia, turns 22 in May, 69.7 PFF grade, 68 targets, only 38 completions, 55.9%, but 440 yards given up, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7 pass breakups, 5 penalties, and 84.2 PFF rating. Or sorry, quarterback rating. My apologies.
I don't know how different he is from Chris Johnson. And that's one of the issues that I have with Chris Johnson, where I'm like, these guys are kind of the same. And you're telling me one of these, like when I wrote the article, Everett was 127 on the consensus board. And Chris Johnson is now like pushing in the first round of mock drafts and all this stuff. People are like, oh, he's my favorite sleeper. I'm like, dude, he's going like 25th in all these, but like, how long does he get to be a sleeper for? Jack of all trades, master of none, already played the quarter system. I think he's pretty solid at just about everything. I think he could be a corner 2 for you. No problem. I think he's a good system fit in this scheme. I gave him a 3rd, 4th. Doesn't have huge ball skills or anything like that. I think his first interception was in the SEC championship game, which I know when I was watching the game and I had my phone out, and I just see like all the Packers fans being like, Dalen Everett, we have to go get him. He just got the interception. That was his first one all year. So it's kind of funny how
love it.
We can fall into those reactions very quickly. I think he's solid. I think he's going to be a solid corner 2. I think he checks all the boxes to like crush thresholds, right? Where you're not worrying about this guy. If you take him in the 3rd, like late third or something like that, which like we're going to be picking in the late third.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, maybe he'll contribute this year. If not, he'll probably be a starter in 27, and we have him under contract for 4 seasons. Totally reasonable to me.
Big time.
I just don't understand the gap between Everett and Johnson. I don't get it unless Johnson runs like a 4-3, like some people think he's going to do in Indy.
That would be a difference. Yeah, I think Johnson gets a little benefit of playing at a smaller school, meaning like, he just doesn't get targeted. And when he does, he's able to shut it down because he's playing against lesser competition. The first thing I had is not only that he looks the part, but played in the SEC, played really well in the SEC, compressed and mirror, used him as a blitzer. They used him outside. They used him inside a little bit. Not as aggressive as a run defender, but good enough. Trigger was a little bit late.
Yeah, he's a little small, but like, again, he's not like so small that
no, it's not
you're
concerning.
knocking him off the board or anything like that. Like, he's not D'Angelo Pons or even like
I'd like him tackling better than Carrington Valentine if I had the choice right now.
Keith Abney, by the way, I saw him. I think Huber had him going, and I'm not taking shots at Huber. Huber had him going in the second. Like, we've never taken a guy that small in like 2 decades. I really don't think that we're going to be in the Keith Abney market. So
I haven't watched him, but I will definitely take your word for it. But yeah, I liked Everett too. Again, I liked all 4 of these. I didn't have any. This is like the most rare, and this is why I was kind of giving you credit earlier. I usually like go through these, and there's like usually 1 or 2 I'm just like, nope, not my cup of tea, don't like. And the 4 you brought up last week and the 4 you brought up this week, liked all 8 of these, honestly. Tacario Davis is the last one, 6'4", 200, corner out of Washington, turns only 22 in August. So he's on the younger side, 67.2 PFF grade. Only targeted 28 times, 15 completions, 53.6%, only 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 4 pass breakups, 6 penalties, a 50.6 quarterback rating.
So he's been a big name for like 3 years. And I think his best game or his best season was 3 years ago. I don't think he's taken the next step. He's like 6'3", 200 pounds, long guy. I don't think he can run. At least well enough in this scheme. I think a spot drop zones team is going to like him a lot more. If you're going to be like Gus Bradley or something like that, right? Like Tennessee might really love this guy, right?
Yep.
He kind of looks like those old Legion of Boom guys that they had outside corner, which like Richard Sherman, great. The guys opposite of Richard Sherman was like a rotating cast of like long dudes,
Brandon Browner,
sideline zone, like, yeah, doing very specific things and working around their issues. He transferred from Arizona, where he was originally at, to Washington. He stuck out the final year after Fish left. So Fish was the head coach at Arizona, left for Washington. He stayed the extra year at Arizona and then followed Fish to Washington, which happened with a couple of guys. And a lot of those Arizona guys stayed, like Tetsuroto McMillan. Was Morgan? I don't think Morgan was. I think Morgan was the last Fish year. There were a couple of Fafita, the quarterback. A lot of those guys stayed back at Arizona instead of going up to UW. The guy he reminded me a lot of was Devon House. And we took Devon House in the 4th, and he was basically he started 14 games in his rookie contract, and then he came back for another starting year and then got hurt and then was kind of out of the league from there on out.
Got a huge contract from Jacksonville. First, they came back to Green Bay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, shout out to him. But yeah, I think this is like a 4th, 5th round guy. I think this is an early day 3 guy. I'm not super excited about him. Don't love the scheme fit. There is some talent. I think there's other teams that would like him a little bit more.
If you mentioned the Legion of Boom, the first thing I had is he more of a cover 3 corner? I could easily see that being 100%. The case.
And he's a big guy. He's gonna help in like the red zone and stuff like that, where like you start motioning guys in or like short yardage. Like he's a big body guy. He's gonna help in the run game if the spacing works out right. But I don't know. That's not a reason to draft a guy in the top 100.
There's another 6'4" guy that we talked about earlier that he reminded me a little bit of, Nashawn Wright. I don't think he has the ball skills of Nashawn Wright, but similar a little bit in coverage, long arms. I just think he needs more technical work. He's still young, so there's some upside there.
Surprised how young he is, because again, he had the breakout. I think it was his redshirt freshman season. Maybe it was his true freshman season. And like
that was per Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, no, but I had it down too. When I asked around him, they were like, "Yeah, he's still only 21." And I was like, "What? How is he 21? He's been in college for all this time." Um, there was a time where people were talking like first round with this guy, but then again, he's never taken that next step where it's just like, oh, okay, maybe this is just what you are. And if it's weird to say that about a 21-year-old, but when you don't progress from ages 19 to 21,
It's a question mark.
yeah,
It's a flag.
it sure is.
I did mention, or I did question the scheme fit as well. And then these are, this is a little bit of a field pick. Like these are the type of corners I enjoy watching and I like, and then I usually get burned on and they don't turn out. So he's definitely a little bit of that for me where I liked watching him, but I have flagged these type of corners in the past of like, I usually like watching them and they don't turn out well. So I'm a little bit jaded there. Those were the four corners. If I told you that Green Bay drafted one of these four, who do you think is most likely?
I think Willie makes a ton of sense as a scheme fit. And then
I'm sorry, who makes the most sense?
Willie. Oh, we're talking about these ones specifically.
These four today. Sorry.
Damani and then Everett. Because I think those are the guys who are better scheme fits. And when you're talking about the draft, which is a market with 32 other teams, guys are going to the highest bidder. Scheme fit is usually top priority. So I think those
makes sense.
And they check the boxes for what the Packers usually look at the position too, in terms of height, weight, speed, all that stuff.
You said Will Lee. I thought you said Will D. I'm like, I don't think you want Jason.
I'm taking Will D. I got him at 4.4. I got him at 4.4.
That's his age, not his 40 time. I don't know what Jason's age is, but yeah. No, all due respect to Jason. He can do a lot of things great. Corner, I don't think is probably one of them. I had some other random things, but we can save those for another day. Any final thoughts on anything else before we get out of here? Anything else that I didn't ask you that you wanted to go over?
I'm just looking at like things that.
Oh, I do one just thing really quick. What are you most, as a Packers fan / analyst? What at the combine is of most interest to you, if anything?
Generally, so this is the cheat code. Offensive linemen, if they run a roughly 7.75 cone and a 4.75 shuttle, those guys are highly likely to be targeted by the Packers. Now, those were the rules when the Packers were okay with drafting 300-pounders instead of trying to go after 320-pounders. So, like you look at like the Anthony Belton numbers, it's a little bit higher, not that much higher. It's still like within the ballpark of that, but then you're including like the weight difference there too, right? So you want to look at guys who are at least like average-ish in both of the agility drills. That will help you a lot. In general, if you're looking at pass rushers, man, and I don't know how many of these guys are even going to run anymore because it seems like fewer and fewer guys are running. There's fewer and fewer head coaches and general managers now that are attending the combine. It's definitely being deprioritized in general. Pass rushers, you're looking for guys who are running like a 4.740 and somewhere in the ballpark of a 7-second 3 cone. Now that guys are different sizes at edge rusher, so it's a sliding scale, right?
Yep.
But if you can get into like that ballpark, for the most part, those edge rushers are going to be good. I want to see the corners that are going to run 4.4s because again, we brought up the Gannon stuff, and Gannon did not have a lot of options, and he still actively went out of the way to basically exclusively play 4.4 guys at the cornerback position. So I do think that that's going to be an important number. Green Bay has drafted guys who have run like 4.5s and stuff in the past. I just think you have to prioritize speed, especially with this defense right now. Trying to think of positions that I care. I mean, Dante Corleone didn't step on the scale. He's a big nose tackle from Cincinnati. He's been dealing with a blood clot issue. He talent-wise would be top 100 talent, but obviously teams are scared of the blood clot thing that he's been dealing with for the last 2 years. And then he didn't step on the scale at the Shrine Bowl. So I want to know his weight. That's going to be important. Parker Brailsford is the opposite. He's the center out of Alabama. I don't think we're going to take him. I was told he was playing like the low 280s, even when he bulked up his last year at Alabama. Definitely interested in seeing what that size is. The Packers
in style.
Yeah. The Packers recently, right? So we're talking last 3 years. And you look at their pre-draft visits and stuff like that. they really want to bring in guys who are like 320 or bigger at the offensive line positions in general. Now, I think they're willing to go a little bit smaller than that at tackle. Like they sent in the pick for Jordan Morgan. I think they're willing to go smaller than that at center. But if you're looking at guys who could be potentially swing tackle guards, guys who could be potentially swing guard centers, I do think that they want to kind of live in that range. So I'm interested in the weights of these offensive linemen moving forward too.
The John Eric Sullivan big doesn't get small. We're gonna hear more and more about big doesn't get small this draft class.
Yeah, and I honestly, if they're running their offense the way that they're running it right now, they should want to be big up front. They really should.
Physical.
Yeah, they should.
I'm with you. Justis, I cannot thank you enough. I kind of interrupted you before you had potentially any other thoughts. Anything else you want to get off your chest?
I was just looking at things that I was like writing earlier in the week. Did you see how Gersman's going to throw at the combine?
Love it. Give me like. Actually, no, I don't like it, because imagine if he ends up being good and you just said, you know what, we're in the Clayton Tune business instead. I can't end up with Taylor L. Gersma being good. If that would be a huge bummer. But
I think they had Tune just running scout team.
Of course.
Yeah,
there's absolutely an aspect of that. But even that, is he your best scout team option? Like I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter.
Go follow Ken Ingles. He started a YouTube channel. He's talking about the NFL salary cap stuff. Go find him. I don't know what the name here. I could probably pull it up right now.
I think it's just his name, but I could be wrong.
Is it just Ken Ingles?
I think it is.
It is just Ken Ingles. Ingles, INGALLS. He's doing a great job of breaking down the Packers salary cap situation. And not only that, but like all the like small nuances and options that the Packers have moving forward, going into free agency. Andy and I talked to Ken a good amount. I know that because we're in the same like Twitter group chat together.
GC, yep.
Anytime I have a question, I just go to Ken. There's a different world where I'm crunching a bunch of salary cap numbers and it's taking a whole lot of time of my life. But Ken does a good enough job that I genuinely don't feel like I need to do it. So that's how much I have respect for him. So go follow him.
No, he's 1A. The same with you. Like, and I've done it here on the channel. I can break it down. I know how to do it. I can
ballpark. I go to him with ballparks and I'm like, does this roughly look right? And he's like, thumbs up. And I'm like, sweet, good enough for me.
Yep. Yeah. But he's 1A in the clubhouse and does a fantastic job with it and makes everyone who covers the Packers life easier because of his knowledge of it, which is super, super helpful. So yes, go follow him. Again, Ken Ingles over on YouTube. I think his social is just at Ken Ingles too, right? Or maybe I think it is. Yeah. Go follow him there. Of course, you can find my guest to my right, left. I don't know. It's always reversed. Either way, find him at JUMOSQ. You can find him, of course, on acmepackingcompany.com as well. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL, but you know that already. We'll be back next week. Probably Wednesday next week is my guess, one day later. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. But for Justis and I, until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.